Hi friends, so how have you been holding up? Doing all right? I hope so. So we've been basically hunkering down here, as most of the world tends to be doing, and I wanted to just tell you a little story. We've hardly been out at all, really, even getting groceries delivered, because we don't particularly want to be going down to the local supermarket for things that we may need. And we're trying to sort of make do with what we have. We have a lot of dried things. Being vegan, there's lots and lots of legumes and grains and all sorts of things that you can sort of store. So we have that, but and that always comes in handy. And then, but there are things that we need from the supermarket. We've even been getting into making our own tofu, which is something we haven't really done. And there are things that sort of come into the equation that you don't expect that you'll be doing, or that you would have the time to do. But since we all have a lot more time because we don't go anywhere, I'm very fortunate though that I live in a rural area, which a lot of people unfortunately don't have the ability to go outside into their yard and have lovely trees and sort of an expanse to walk around in. I'm very aware of that there are people that are stuck inside small apartments, and sometimes probably with abusive people or abusive partners. That's a kind of frightening thought. But anyway, this is just going to be a little informal ramble. I could go on about the incompetence of Trump and his son-in-law Jared Kushner when it comes to handling this crisis in the United States, but maybe that for another time. So I had to go to the hospital the other day, about a week ago now, week and a half. And I had to have my arm checked out because I broke it a couple of months ago, and I had to have an operation on it. If you follow this channel, you probably heard me mention that. This is sort of what I did when I went to the hospital, because this is sort of the last place I wanted to go, was to go to somewhere that could be the epicenter of the disease. And so I basically took a mask and a few pairs of gloves. And I made sure that if I got into a lift that I didn't touch any of the elevator buttons. I had gloves on, and I'd take them off after I get to the top of the, because it was a 12 floors I had to go. I don't think I'm fit enough to go 12 floors without an elevator. And so anyway, so it was basically lots of gloves and lots of hand washing in between. There was, they'd managed to put seats that were reserved for basically where you couldn't sit. So everybody had to sit far away, and there was only 5 people in the orthopedics outpatients, and which was great. And so, but despite that, I was feeling very paranoid. This is a week and a half ago, and it's hard not to feel paranoid because you cannot see this virus, and it's best to just assume everybody has it and treat and including yourself, to treat yourself to behave as if you have it as well. So we basically, that's what I did. I went to the hospital. I did all of the right things. And when I came home, I took my clothes off and I put them away in because, the virus can live on different things. I'm not sure how long they live on clothing, but they can live on plastic, for, I think, 2 or 3 days, and they can live on stainless steel for a couple of days. I don't know. And cardboard for 24 hours. So all these things you have to keep in mind. And so I took those clothes off, put them in a cupboard, and then I had a shower, and I left my shoes at the door or out, and put them outside. And so it's sort of a bit like that. And I hope that you're doing similar things. It may feel a bit overly paranoid or overly protective, but I think it's a good idea. It's better to be like that in a way than put somebody else in harm's way. So anyway, but I felt quite paranoid with through the hospital, and I'd see steel bars, and suddenly the steel bars looked like they were, sort of wriggling with, with some toxic substance. Like I'd look down and I was thinking of leaning on it on the walkway across, and I thought, no, don't touch that. And so basically I didn't touch anything the whole time I was there, except for when I used my gloves to touch elevator buttons. And the doctors, were very good and kept their distance and washed their hands before they touched my arm. but I really didn't even want people to touch my arm. And ironically today, I'm overdue for a checkup at the dentist, and it's been about 1.5 years now. I try to go every year for a clean, a scale back and all of that. And what happens, one of my old fillings, my teeth, one of my molar teeth kind of breaks when I was cleaning my teeth with a little toothpick cleaner type thing, a little bottle brush toothpick cleaner. So, but fortunately, there's no pain at the moment, because obviously it's not close to the tooth nerve. But I just thought, yeah, that'd be right, to do something like that at a time where you don't want to be face to face with anybody, even if they're wearing masks or whatever. But they're paranoid. The dentists I normally go to, they're not even wanting to see anyone. They basically said, you have to be in pain and you have to see a doctor first and see, it's obvious they don't want to see anyone. I'm sure there are other dentists around that might see me, but anyway, I'm just going to see if I can hang out with this until maybe a few weeks and then look into it, because I don't really want anybody near me right now. In fact, when I came back from the hospital, anybody who was basically... I didn't want my partner coming near me either. I basically sort of just see myself as somebody who might have it, and I don't want anybody to get it. And I think that's the best way to look at it, and to sort of basically keep your distance from people until, if you've been into a place like a hospital, keep your distance even from people that you're living with, sharing houses with or whatever, because it's just better that way until you feel like you're out of the danger period, the incubation period. So anyway, that's my little hospital story. But I just remember standing there looking across from the walkway, seeing this metal bar, and I felt my heart starting to race, because I felt like there could be virus germs everywhere, even though from what I saw, the hospital had it really well under control, and they had people going around with cleaning fluids, doing the lifts and all sorts of things. Like, it was a constant thing. Nobody was allowed to sit near one another and all of that. So it was good to see that. The hospital in Hobart, despite being underfunded, the public hospital, they do a really great job. I hope that you're doing your best to increase your cooking skills, and I hope you're thinking about maybe going vegan and staying vegan at this time, because being vegan will increase your immune system response tremendously, and I won't explain why that is, but just to say that animal products, that's one of the reasons, is that animal products increase the inflammation in your body every time you eat animal products. So you're constantly fighting an inflammation after you eat. So if you're eating 3 times a day, your body's always in a state of inflammation. That's just one of many. That's a science fact. A science fact, really. It's called endotoxemia. All the bacteria in the meat and all of that. Doesn't matter if you cook it or whatever. It's there, and your body is constantly in a state of inflammation. So anyway, that's I hope that you're thinking about going vegan. Firstly, because animals aren't our property. That's the most important reason to be vegan. And secondly, because it's a great thing to do for yourself and for the planet. And I've regularly showed those memes of the largest study to date, science study to date that said that the single most important thing one can do to address the climate crisis and the 6th mass extinction is to adopt a plant-based diet. I hope that you are keeping well. I think of if you want to leave comments in the comment section, and that would be great. And if there's anything that you would like me to talk about, I can do my best. I'm just an amateur on lots of things, on lots of issues. I try to keep up with different things, but different issues. But that there's so much now, so much that's going on right now. Look, they're trying to invade Venezuela while there's a pandemic on. They're having a good old laugh about putting terrible economic sanctions, 800 economic sanctions on Iran, when the country has got the pandemic is really, really serious in that country. They have a lot of cases. And so, you know, this awful sadistic empire is enjoying the fact that Iran is buckling underneath economic sanctions and that they're buckling under this pandemic. They want to destroy Iran. And, you know, it's appalling to see. Someone brought it up at the White House press conference. I watch those occasionally just to see the shit show that's happening. And I'll just say one thing about that. A couple of days ago, basically, Trump had all his corporate buddies up there doing an ad for themselves, telling us all how great Trump is, and then going through and introducing themselves and what company they're from. There was Procter & Gamble and a whole bunch of big companies there, and all blowing their own horns about how great they're doing with producing ventilators or something, or some product, you know, N95 masks. In a socialist country, you know, this would be just absolutely not even heard of, that this whole pandemic would be left up to the private sector. And they're even having the states bidding on things like on eBay, bidding on ventilators and things like that. And the other day in San Francisco, the mayor of San Francisco, what's his name? It's escaped me right now, but he said that they got delivered 160 ventilators and they were all broken. So they had to fix them. So they fixed them, and then they had them working in a couple of days. But I mean, you know, it's sort of like, but this is all about private enterprise controlling the flow of resources, and the states are having to bid for it. This is going to cost many lives, on top of Trump acting so late. It could have been, instead of, say, 50,000 deaths, it now will be maybe a couple of million, because Trump basically called it a Democratic Party hoax in the beginning, and he dragged his feet trying to blow it off. And he defunded the CDC, and he also got rid of this pandemic emergency team, something like that. And Jared Kushner now has basically taken over the resources dispersion, and he's giving all his buddies in private industry more and more money to do various things, and a lot of people aren't even sure what's going on. The only person that really knows what's going on is Jared Kushner. Have a look at the Politico article. I'll leave a link in the information section. Have a look at that and see what he's up to, Jared Kushner. So anyway, that's Trump's son-in-law. Please leave comments in the comments section and let me know how you're doing. I'm closing in on 1,000 subscribers now, which is very nice. It's just a number, really. I mean, I wouldn't care really if there's only 15 people listening, as long as maybe somebody goes vegan in amongst that. And if you find some of the links or some of the independent journalist resources that I mentioned, if you end up getting switched on to that, and then you get your information from that instead of some mainstream news or whatever, that would make me very happy, particularly if you consider going vegan. But like I say, this is a great time to go vegan while you're at home, and you know, you can have a look at my vegan podcast, Comprehensive Vegan Podcast. It's a resource. Have a look at that, How to Go Vegan, and check out all the essays that I've recorded there that are really, really very beneficial into recognizing that animals are not here for us to use. So check that out first, and then if you need any assistance in planning or suggestions or whatever with planning your diet, this is a great time to do that. And then to stay vegan, that's why I say to check out the ethics, the animal ethics in these podcasts, because that's mostly what it is. Once you internalize the ethical position, you'll never ever go back. There'll be no such thing as an ex-vegan. Anybody who says they're ex-vegan was never vegan in the first place, because if you haven't internalized the ethical position, you're going to, anything, if the slightest inconvenience is going to make you, you know, say, no, I'm not going to do this. There's another podcast that you might be interested in. I'm not a fan of Michael Moore, but he's doing a good job talking about this state of things in New York with the coronavirus. He's got a podcast called Rumble, R-U-M-B-L-E. That's worth a little check out. And of course, I've mentioned other podcasts that you can check out, like Media Roots Radio. That's actually, they're the ones that you should be focusing on. Media Roots Radio, The Grey Zone, and In Press News, ones like that. But so let me know how you feel out your time at the moment during this very odd time we're having. And have good thoughts for those in the United States and Iran and some of the European countries, Italy, Germany is starting to creep up there. Have good thoughts that this gets under control. And also, that they find alternatives to torturing animals to find these. The only reason we continue to use animals like they're just things and torture them and kill them in dreadful, dreadful ways is because we can't be bothered looking at other, it's like because they're viewed as property in our world, in this species, this world, and because most of us are not vegan, we just see them as expendable. And so, and yet there are alternatives that exist already, and there could be way more alternatives to this torturing animals and killing them that we're doing. And while this coronavirus thing is happening, there's already about 120 plus million animals tortured, all species, all kinds of species, cats, dogs, mice and rats aren't even counted in those statistics. They're just completely irrelevant, and yet they're completely sentient and wonderful sentient animals, and yet they're just not even counted. So imagine how many more there will be, because everybody will be wanting to make this vaccine and then patent it. It's all about capitalism. End-stage capitalism is making this whole situation so much worse. And not only for us, because, capitalism it cares about the economy and it cares about businesses. End-stage capitalism, it doesn't care about the public and never has. We're just all resources too, that are more and more expendable as time goes by. So that's why we need to get rid of capitalism, because it's an ecocidal sort of an ideology, and it's also anti-people. It's completely anti-people, and it's anti-non-humans. So anyway, that's really all I wanted to say. So leave comments if you wish, and let me know how you are and what you're doing and where you are in the world. And if there's anything you'd like me to talk about, please leave that in the information section, as long as it's not too out there. I'm not going to be talking about lizard people or anything. And if you have any questions about veganism, please feel free to contact me from info@howtogovegan.org. And something that's always good to do during times like this to reduce anxiety is to be in the present moment, and to not spend too much time on social media, and to not read too many mainstream media. Don't look at mainstream media and news, because it's all clickbaity. They all want you to be frightened and continue clicking them on. So it's good to keep as much distance and try and, if possible, if at all possible, do things that are good for the inner self, and being here now and not projecting into the future worries and concerns that have not happened, but bringing ourselves back to the present moment is something we can all do to help us keep healthy, to nurture our immune system, because we're not constantly worried and projecting into the future things that haven't happened or may never happen. And we just be here in the present moment. If I'm eating, then I'm eating and enjoying what I'm eating, and I'm not thinking and worrying about this and that, and what if this person dies, what if what if this, what if that, what if this, and the mind just goes, if you find yourself doing that, just bring yourself back to the present moment and think about what you're doing right now, and really enjoy it, really be with it, be with that moment. If you're if you're outside and you have the luck to be in an environment where you can look at a tree, then just look at that tree and watch the leaves moving, and listen to the wind through the leaves, and just really appreciate how fortunate we are that we have natural things still to look at, despite capitalism wanting to just wipe everything out. There's Aoife in the background. He's got his Bird Be Safe collar. No, we don't like to dress up our cats. And enjoy the non-human animals that the refugees of domestication you may be sharing the house with. Even foster somebody from a shelter, if you can. All those different things, and don't sort of drink too much, because that is a depressive, and it's also going to depress your immune system. I know that it's easy to go that direction when you sort of, particularly if you don't have any sort of outdoors to look at and you can't get outside, you're in a sort of a state of lockdown where some areas are like that. We're even in that too, where you can go out to get essential things, but you can't go out in more than 2 people at a time. If you get together with a third person, you can be fined, basically. But, you know, I don't mind that. I know that governments can use that to turn things into an authoritarian sort of a state. But I also recognize that these sort of things, to stay at home and keep away from people and self-quarantine and all of that, is essential to knocking this on the head for everybody, for the world. So it's an act of self-love and also love of others to do that. Be here now as much as possible, and I think that you'll find that you're not getting as anxious about things. If you just, every time you see yourself or think, you start thinking into the future and projecting into the future, what if this happens, and starting to worry, or if you start ruminating about things that have happened in the past, which when one is depressed, one can do that, start ruminating over and over again about things that have happened, and if you wish that you'd done something different or whatever, is all kind of in many ways a waste of time continuing to do that, and it also adds to stress on your immune system, and it adds to your anxiety levels. So if we just be here now, it will make a big difference to us and to others and how we communicate with others. Anyway, so thanks for watching. My name's Trish Roberts. I think there were other things I was going to talk about, but that will do for now. I hope to talk to you soon. You're watching Faint Signals from Vega. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notifications bell. Till next time, peace. Go vegan. Bye for now.